Well, hello, Richard. Tough one for the Steelers.
Go ahead. You're going to tell me how wrong I am? Go ahead.
No, you're not wrong. It is one game. I'll grant everybody that, but this notion that the Steelers were world beaters or that they were going to be great and the offense was going to hum or they were going to click or they were going to be so competent was faulty. On top of that, San Francisco is a pretty good football team, so there's that.
So were they faulty? Were those assumptions faulty? Or is there such a thing as just a bad day at the office?
Maybe a mixture of both, but I think that we saw 3 preseason games, and far too many people thought that there was a total overhaul in what this football team could be or a thrust in the record that I just wasn't ever going to see. I mean, for me, again, this is a 9-8 football team, and I don't think it justifies – one game doesn't justify my thought, but, this is problematic where there were 3 or 4 passes completed 10 yards or more. There were 7 passes completed behind the line of scrimmage. The ball, that's not the NFL in 2023.
That's an interesting stat. 7 passes completed behind the line of scrimmage?
Correct. Yes.
So here we go. We go back to, and not to put it all on one person, but we go back to my biggest concern going into this season was Matt Canada. And when I saw the second play, the
reverse,
the jet sweep or whatever the hell.
Yes.
I thought, and the difference between that and San Francisco is San Francisco has clearly identified their assets. They know what their strengths are, and they play them. They stay in their swim lane. And we come out, we know what our strengths are. We have all of this talent. And we come out and we run a reverse on second down. I don't get it. You can't establish continuity that way. You can't establish continuity throwing 7 passes behind the line of scrimmage. Look, I get that we were, I guess, grasping at that point. But really, I want to just jump really quick because we seem to, and I've read all the articles this morning. And last night, I've seen the press conferences and listened to the pundits on all the shows. But I haven't heard Joe Burrow doesn't deserve his $279 million yet. And they benched him yesterday because he had a similar day. But I don't hear that.
Well, a couple things at play. Joe Burrow's been to a Super Bowl. Joe Burrow's coming off a preseason injury and yet a game that was already out of hand. I'm not the biggest Joe Burrow fan. I think Joe Burrow's actually reached the apex in his career. I don't think he'll ever get back to the Super Bowl. But Joe Burrow can't – I'm more willing –
He had a bad day, right? Terrible.
I'm more willing to scratch up or to chalk up a bad day at the office for Joe Burrow than I am for Kenny Pickett, who hasn't reached that point yet.
Yeah, see, I'm not, because Joe Burrow, is pompous. Did you see his outfit that he showed up for the game in yesterday?
Oh, always. He's become that guy.
He's a fashionista. Sit down, Joe. We'll show you how to do it for real. So no, he screams for this kind of attention, and so he's under the microscope. And no, I think I'm more willing to give Kenny Pickett a bye and a pass than I am Joe Burrow. And I am for Kenny Pickett because I know how hard he works. He still seems humble. I think that Kenny's going to be fine. I really believe that. But there wasn't one part of that game yesterday that was fine. Not a player, aside from T.J. Watt, who always brings it.
Right? I thought Watt and Jalen Samuels were the only 2 guys that really – and Watt was another level. Watt was better than Bosa, I thought.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. But who I liked on San Francisco, and I don't know his name, but number 57. But
their linebackers were incredible.
Yeah. And you could see him. I mean, what is it called when you focus just on one player? His eyes were never off of Najee. Wherever Najee went, he went, and he stuck him a couple times. But no, I think it's cause for concern. But then the other side of me says, if I were the head coach, do I need to coach you more or less? Do I need to not even address this game? Just put it behind us and go forward. what I know.
Maybe, but one of your rivals just had a big game. Probably not. You probably just move on from it. But there are some very concerning things. I thought it was really concerning from an introspective standpoint that the Pittsburgh Steelers are down 20 in the third quarter in plus territory across the 50-yard line, and they punted. I mean, is that giving up? Is that you tell us all the time, and Mike Tomlin, how great your defense is, and then you don't trust them. And you don't have a punter that's good, that can drop the football inside the 5. So everything added up to just a gigantic mistake. Again, we're grasping at straws because it's that point in the game, but
yeah,
if it doesn't start at the top with acumen in that moment, then how's it to be expected from everyone else?
Well, you mentioned that yesterday, and you and I texted a couple times through the game, and you mentioned that yesterday, and I'll be honest with you, I missed that when it happened. I didn't really think that. But then when you called attention to it, I did think about it, and I thought, you know what, he's right. Why did we do that? That was kind of silly. So we missed that coaching piece, but we seem to always miss that piece. And the other part is the Harving. I'm so out on him as a punter. I mean, I don't understand why he's still employed by us.
Yeah, it's tough. But to get back on track with everything that you said, maybe you just act like the game didn't happen and you move on with an extra day. Cleveland at home, Monday night. Hope you can get back on track. But here's where I'm worried about, and I think you're right, it's going to be a tough one. Last year, Deshaun Watson had a definitive timetable in which he knew he would not play at the beginning of the season and all that stuff. He also had an acclimation period where, and look, he's a bad guy. He's a terrible guy. But he had an acclimation period where I think he was wondering, will I be accepted by this organization? Will these guys like me? Will they want me to be their teammate? Well, now it feels like for him, and I don't agree with this, I don't think he should ever play in the NFL, but for him, it feels like it's just football now. And that might end up being scary for everyone else. Like
he's a damn good quarterback.
Correct. And now, not that stuff didn't happen, because it definitely did, but it's so far behind him.
It is for him.
Right.
And I think, watch how quickly Cleveland accepts him when he starts to win.
It happened yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah.
They named him captain, Richard. He's a captain of their football team.
I did not see that. That's pretty crazy.
It's totally crazy.
Yeah, and it's hard. I mean, the severity of those charges was pretty bad, pretty disturbing. So, I can't get past that. But it's separate. Football, the way he plays football is completely different, and he's damn good. So next Monday night is going to be a challenge. We just have to figure out how to recover from this. Do we recover from getting beaten like a puppy? Well, that was a bad analogy. But do we, or do we just put it in the past? Because then you also have to move over to Saturday night. And, Saturday night was not a good game for Phil and the University of Pittsburgh. And I do have to move to that because I am completely sold on Phil Jurkovec. I can turn the page on that game so much faster than I can on the Steelers yesterday.
Tell me why.
I can tell you why, because I can tell you that I believe Phil is the guy. I think that Kenny and the rest of the team have been here. I mean, this is what we expect from them. I think there was a lot to happen on Saturday night. I think that, Phil probably felt just awful. But you remember last year when Kenny Pickett had a very similar game, and I don't remember who it was. It was it Western Michigan maybe?
Oh, you mean when he was at Pitt?
Yeah, and when he had was it 2 years ago? So when he had a real similar game, right? So I'm not willing to throw out Phil. I love Phil, and as a matter of fact, my text to Phil was, "Brother, I'm behind you. I'm so proud that you're with me. I really am, and I still am." So on the Steelers side, that's a whole different level, and I'm not so willing to forgive it. I am on a campaign. This whole Matt Canada thing just really bothers me, and I think that I think that's such a big piece. But I also didn't like the Kenny saying that him and Freiermuth saw it differently. What's that mean?
Well, yeah, back to the Kenny, or excuse me, the Matt Canada thing bothering you.
Yeah.
I'm past the point of it really bothering me or me.
But you can't.
No, listen, I'm going to tell you exactly why. I'm past the point of it bothering me or me getting worked up about it because he's not going to fire himself. And if the owner doesn't see it as a problem, why should I see it as a problem? It's a problem. This is not Matt Canada's problem. It's not even Mike Tomlin's problem because Mike Tomlin won't get rid of the guy because he's loyal to yes men that won't give him any guff. It's an Art problem. Art won't see it as a problem. He doesn't want to rock the boat. It's as easy as to see as the day is long, and it's absolutely ridiculous. It's an Art the second problem. He's okay with complacency, and he's okay with wanting long-time employees as opposed to shaking things up and getting the best employees in there. There's no other reason why Matt Canada is employed.
Yeah, I struggle with that. That's a leap. I don't think that can't be true. He didn't get where he is by being that person. I don't agree with that.
Well, then why is Matt Canada still the offensive coordinator?
Well, because again, I think they see it differently. I think that they looked at the preseason. They put so much weight on the preseason, and honestly, that was a misplaced confidence. And I did too. I mean, I really did. And I thought, well, look, if it's preseason and he knows the right plays, why would he change in season? And he did. He went right back to being that guy. So I don't think it's an Art problem. I'm not sure what I don't know. I mean, honestly, maybe there are people that think. I mean, I saw an article in one of the papers today that said, "Does this affect Matt Canada's ability to become a head coach?" What? Who said that? I don't even know who said it. Somebody said that, like a noted columnist. That's why. When did that ever come up in conversation? Matt Canada, head coach. What? So, but then again, we took Bruce Arians, who we all hated, sent him to Arizona, made him a head coach, and he won a Super Bowl. And now we deified him. So who knows? We always hate our offensive coordinator.
But here's the thing. Matt Canada never had a track record to be in this position that he gained, and never, I thought, was qualified to be where he is.
Okay, so let's agree on Matt Canada. We both think shouldn't be in the job, right?
Right.
Put Matt Canada out. Let's take him out. We can't talk about him anymore. What do you think happened in that game on Sunday, aside from Matt Canada?
Well, we saw a defense that couldn't. That an offense went 0 for 5 straight away. I saw a quarterback that played thoroughly average, very average.
But go back. Go to offense, defense. Go to defense. Is it person or is it schematic or what is the issue?
Oh, I thought the offense did their job the first 3 or 4 times, and they just died on the field. The offense couldn't offer any continuity to keep the defense off the field. Then they got tired and then started letting up some points.
Okay, so Kenny Pickett misfired a few times.
More than a few times.
Why? Why do you think that hurt?
1, because he wasn't sharp. 2,
do you think he's an elite quarterback?
No, I never have.
You don't think he's an elite quarterback?
No, he's an average quarterback. Okay. People are thinking illogically and with their heart and not their head. If they tab Kenny Pickett,
Big Ken,
if they have him ranked anywhere other than an average quarterback right now with the body of work that he's had in the NFL, I hope he grows into more. I hope he becomes great. But what empirical evidence can you point to, or any evidence or any examples as to how he's better than average right now?
Well, empirically, I can't, but hopefully from my heart, I can.
Yes,
certainly not empirically. Yeah, I mean, okay, so that's a good. I'm asking you as the expert.
Well, you know what else too?
What?
Okay, like guys like Brady or guys like Rodgers or the true greats. You always talk about the intangibles at some level, but then the talk turns to the tangibles. This and this and this. Every time we laud Kenny Pickett and talk great about him, it never turns to the tangibles. It's always stays with the intangibles. great leader, heady, gets guys in order. It's got to turn into he made this throw. He did this with his arm. He made this play. Not that he's a leader and he's heady and he has moxie. We got to start talking more about the tangibles, and he's got to start showing more of the tangibles to be considered better than average.
Where do I go with this? So I have a lot of relationships with present, past Pittsburgh Steelers, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that bothers me is in a conversation that one of the ex-Steelers had made a comment to me yesterday that indicated that there might be some lack of confidence in that position.
Is it lack of confidence because they have confidence in someone else?
I don't know.
That's in that.
I don't know. Just I think yesterday really paused everybody's opinions. I really do. I think it may be just one game, but that one game is pretty exculpatory, I think.
Can I tell you something else that I've heard for a long time? Back to the about 2 or 3 games left last season and all through camp this year. Yeah. George Pickens isn't necessarily the easiest guy to work with.
Yeah, but he's the best.
he's undeniably the best, but he's not the easiest guy to work with. Unless he's getting the ball 110% of the time, he's not going to be happy.
I don't need him to be happy. I just need him to be involved and throw the ball to him. And that's all he wants. And that doesn't matter. That's what we do. We manage personalities. 53 teams or 53 guys on 32 teams. Is that 1,600 right. Players, coaches, staff. So, that's what we do. So that just kind of comes with the territory. How do we manage that and make it and just focus on the professional, on the tangibles, as you say? So, I don't know. I think that yesterday just caused a lot of questions. But does that make me just another Steeler fan, like a fair weather fan? Does it make me just as bad as the guy that booed him? Who was booing in the stadium, booing Kenny Pickett when a week ago they were lauding him and deifying him, use that word again. So I don't want to be like that and just jump on the bandwagon and next week he soars off the charts and I say, see, I told you Kenny Pickett was great. I don't want to be that guy. So I'm really just kind of posing the questions and concerns, which I have. And I think that's legit. I don't think anybody could fault us for that.
No, I think he is what he is until he proves he's not. And right now he's an average quarterback. And I don't know. I do think that we got enamored.
That word.
Well, what else is there to use?
I don't know, but average I hate.
Well, because here's the thing. We all in this city, not all of us, but far too many of us had an overreaching and too high of an opinion of what this football team and what the quarterback was going to be. And I told you, I think this is a 9-8 football team until they prove me otherwise. And it's not, and I don't take solace in that. I don't celebrate in it. I just got to see it before I believe it. And what I saw yesterday, I think
I was excited. I have to be honest with you. I was excited. And then the other thing, San Francisco's a damn good football team.
Well, this is the other thing too, that I think he gets short shrift is Brock Purdy. At some point, Brock Purdy is not just a system quarterback, and he's not a product of Shanahan. Brock Purdy is a good quarterback and is making some of his own hay at some point. You have to give him credit.
But he's got such a strong supporting cast. And
he does.
The supporting cast really is his coaching staff. They have a structure. John Lynch is a great general manager. DeBartolo's a great owner. Jed York, actually, his mom is Denise DeBartolo. And so, that dynasty continues. That's why there were so many red jerseys yesterday.
They all came from Youngstown.
Youngstown contingent, yeah. So they're a great dynasty, and I don't see Brock Purdy much different than a Joe Montana style, or from a Steve Young style. I think they're pretty similar, and so that's the system. We seem to be run and gun, and I'm not sure that's the right consistency.
I'll tell you one guy that lost in all this, because we talk about the offensive coordinator, we talk about the quarterback so much, we talk about even the defense giving up 30 points. It's another lack of output from Najee Harris yesterday.
Yeah, but then somebody would look at it and say, we had a 22-yard run.
Right, and they had to throw the football to try to play catch up and all of that kind of stuff. But if you have a true premier first-round draft pick at running back, he got to take over games at some point.
I mean, what's his name took over for San Francisco? Come on.
McCaffrey can do it all.
That guy, but they stayed with him. They gave it to him. They gave it to him. They kept giving it to him. They involved him in the passes, on the short passes. They involved him in mid-range passes. They involved him because they have confidence in him, right? And I got to tell you, we don't seem that. We run a play, then we take them out. We put somebody else in, we take them out. Then we're back here, and then we're going to throw a reverse. Then we're going to do a jet sweep. I mean, come on. We're all over the place. And
the Steelers' offense is a bunch of patchwork when other teams have fluidity and sort of a game plan, and it just feels like a bunch of plays. It's a bunch of songs when everybody else has a full album that you listen to from front to back.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you. You mentioned Art Rooney, and I don't think that's his logic or his thinking. There's a minority owner of the Pittsburgh Steelers that I believe that if he ever became a majority owner, I don't think you'd see some of this. I think he's pretty dialed in and action oriented.
Who's this?
Thomas Tull.
You think so?
I do. I think a more active Thomas Tull would change the dynamic of that football team.
Well, he has the money. They need to accept it. That's the other,
and they may not ever. But I'm just saying, hypothetically, I don't think you would see the same type of thing here. I really don't. I
think Thomas Tull would be closer to a Mark Cuban type owner than somebody we're seeing right now, without the craziness. Thomas Tull, if the times I've been around him, which have been few, he seems to wear his allegiance on his sleeve. And
from what I know, also he does, yes. And I think that's kind of what we need right now. But
something else. I think if they were sellers, Thomas Tull would buy the Pittsburgh Pirates tomorrow.
You think?
Yes, sir.
Oh, he'd change it. He'd change it. I know that. He'd change
it. They're not open for business, but if they were, he'd be the first guy in line to buy them.
You know what? I have to be honest with you. I've always said I wish I could buy it because I'd change it too. That's how I feel. I don't think it's that big of a switch. I think it's just the difference between believing and not believing. I really think that.
You'd get even more famous. That big cowboy hat behind home plate.
No, I'm telling you, I've always thought that. I'd love to have the Pirates.
You'd be like Mattress Mac in Houston. That guy that's out there, it's big front and center. I would like that.
Yeah, I would too. But maybe Thomas and I will buy it together. But anyway, Thomas, that's out there for you, man.
Well, what do you think about Cleveland then next week?
I think we have trouble. I don't know what Pittsburgh Steelers team will show up, but even if it's somewhere in the middle of what we saw in preseason and what we saw yesterday, even if it's somewhere in the middle, we have a problem. I think that our middle right now is really vulnerable, and I think they can run the ball. That's what I would do. I'd run that ball straight up the middle every single time, and I would just do it until it wore us out. And then when it wore us out, I'd start throwing it. But I think we have trouble. I am not sure. What's the line? Do we know?
I think the Cleveland is favored in Pittsburgh by 2 points, which is insane. That never happens. Yeah. I think that it is, I think it'll be a field goal game one way or the other. I can't call it yet. I've got to wait to see the injury report, especially with Chooks being hurt, that Broderick Jones may get a start, which may not be a bad thing. But I'm going to bring it back down to center here and not overreact too much. I think the Steelers will have a good week of practice. I don't know if they'll win, but I think it'll be a field goal game. I think they'll get it kind of back in order a little bit. They won't get blown out.
I'm just really curious to see. I cannot identify what the problem was. I really can't. I mean, you can't have 22 people just show up one day and become bad. I don't know what the problem was.
It's fluidity on offense. It's a lack of structure and game plan.
I get that, but what? Like, what a different offensive coordinator, and we can criticize them all we want, but what really happened yesterday? What happened? Did they just have a mental breakdown? Did they weren't prepared for the aggressive attack that we endured? Like, what was it? What happened?
Well, one, for all the talk, listen, Richard, for all the talk we talked about that tight ends room, did they make a concerted effort to get the tight ends the ball at all? I didn't see that.
No.
That's number one. Number two, George Pickens, I've said since game 3 that he played as a Pittsburgh Steeler, he needs to be a volume receiver. And if you have to throw it to him 17 times a game, that's what you do. It's not just going to magically go into that one week. Yeah, that has to just start happening.
So, but what you're doing, though, is identifying what the real issues are, right? So it's not just a feeling. And what that means is goes back to the offensive coordinator. But there's got to be more to that. George Pickens didn't lose his ability to catch the ball. Kenny Pickett didn't lose his ability to throw the ball. What threw him off? What happened yesterday? That's what I want to know.
They never rhythmically get into a confidence. And you saw Purdy. He just was rolling, getting up to the line, going. Guys want to play fast and go, and they slow that down when the games hit for some reason.
And you know what? And you're getting me wound up. So, and I saw that yesterday, and I saw the interview, and I don't know where I saw the Kenny Pickett interview. It was either post game or somewhere along the way there. Somebody asked him, look, what happened in the 2-minute drill? I mean, you look like a different team.
Right.
And his answer was, well, that's a 2-minute drill. It's very different. That's not the right answer. Okay. That's wrong. That's the wrong answer. Of course, it's a 2-minute drill. That's the question. Why can you do it in a 2-minute drill and you can't do it any other time? Why? And if that's the case, why didn't you play that offense for the rest of the game? Why didn't you do that? A hurry up offense for the next 2 quarters. Why? Why wouldn't you do that? And I know Mike Tomlin took criticism for giving up for taking the ball on the coin toss.
Yes.
I got to be honest with you. Before the game, I was thinking about that and thought, I might do that too. So, it only becomes a bad idea when it was a bad idea. Because if we would have done well with it and scored on the first drive, then it would have been a great thought. But, it's kind of like second guessing it. But, let's give credit where credit's due and give blame where blame's due. So I don't know who to like next week.
And the 49ers might very well win the Super Bowl.
Oh, honestly. There's no, Debo is he's so cool. I love him.
And, the other thing not talked about enough because they scored 30 points, they hit. They're physical. They're like an AFC North team.
I'm going to tell you, 30 points is nothing because that should have been a lot more, in my opinion.
Right.
I think they could have run it up. Look at New York last night with Dallas. Wow. How about that?
Right.
But, yeah, so I'm hesitant on going with the home team next Monday. I'm very hesitant on that. I think that Cleveland has an opportunity. And I will tell you this. If what happened yesterday happens next Monday, there's got to be some changes made.
We will see. Well, it's been great breaking it down with you. Now we have all week to get the rest of our angst out of our head.
Oh yeah, I'm frustrated. I'm so angry.
So am I. I'm not happy. My mood has been changed.
Ruined my yesterday. Ruined my Sunday. Ruined my morning. Just ruined me. So when Chelsea
ruined my week.
Let's get Colin this morning. I said, hell yes. Let's get him raw and unfiltered.
I know. All right. Well, that's that. We have all week to steam.
All right. You can take care of the sports. I'll sell cars.
I'll see you later.